I'm not as good with words as you are, okay? So I'm not like... Now, if you're a lady... I wouldn't want to grass them up, mate. It's not
it's
on
just
that.
a number.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, because...
A few of you are questioning the logic of that particular position, and Andy reminds us that...
Now let's watch this bonkers LBC caller getting really beautifully schooled on immigration, where earlier on this week, James O'Brien on LBC was talking about, the drop in immigration figures. And he was basically saying that, those who forever moan about immigration and that's the hill they're prepared to die on should be happy now. Well, Louis from Liverpool proved that they will never be happy.
Very good. So the issue we have is... Obviously, we can't have the information regarding illegal immigrants. So I appreciate you've got the ones from the National Office of Statistics, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but we haven't got the full picture. So we don't know how many people are here illegally.
So if the ONS revealed that zero net migration, you'd still be worried about the illegal immigrants?
I didn't say I was worried.
What,
so
then?
Terribly sorry. Sorry, go on.
No, you're talking about yourself, or you're predicting the narrative of other people?
Oh, both, actually. So at the moment, you see, the thing is, now, I know you said before that you represent some working people. I think you said that about 10 minutes ago.
In terms of how important information is, for example, between 2020 and the end of September 2024, there are about 175,000 unauthorised arrivals in this country, of which 78% arrived after crossing the Channel. Those are the numbers you said weren't available. That's what I mean by giving. That's what I mean by giving people the information they need.
Okay, so the thing is, though, overall, we haven't got all the information because they're here illegally. So the fact that they're here illegally...
Yes, but when they reveal how many people have crossed the Channel in a small boat, do you know how they get that number?
Yeah, they count them probably.
They do what?
Count them probably.
Right, and what do you end up with when you count things?
A total.
A number. So if you're saying, but there'll be loads that haven't been counted, that would also apply to the entire country. They're births that aren't registered.
Well, you've got people coming in lorries and what have you.
Not so much anymore, actually. I mean, they were pretty good at shutting down the lorry routes, which is why everybody started getting in the dangerous dinghies and risking their lives.
Well, I mean, we'll never know, will we, really?
Well, we have a fairly good indication because the measure is fairly reliable. And it's, of course, a fraction of the legal figures anyway. Even if you could count every single one hiding in every mythical boot and lorry in the land, we would have a tiny proportion of the overall numbers. But here is the massive... here's the massive official number, and here's Lewis saying, I don't really care about that. I care about the relatively tiny unofficial number.
I didn't say those words, but I understand where you're coming from.
Everyone heard you.
Okay. So, going forward, do you understand how some people, working class people, are concerned about immigration?
I object to your use of the words working class. There are loads of posh people who hate immigration as well.
I didn't say... Sorry, James. I didn't say hate.
There are loads of posh people who are very concerned about immigration as well.
Yes, they're probably off maybe for different reasons. So, working class people may be concerned because of the jobs that we can do. Now, can you understand how that would be a real worry for working class people?
Of course I can. Can you understand why you should be half as concerned today as you were yesterday?
Can I? Not really, no.
Okay. Why not?
Because the thing is, well, I'd still be concerned. For example, I mean, I work with my hands. I do quite a labour-intensive job. That's just due to... I'm not going to go into that situation. It is now. If somebody came over to a building site from another country and they could undercut me because they haven't got a mortgage and they haven't got a family, can you understand how that's going to put me in a bit of a mess? Like,
yeah, of course I could if it was true, but it would not be their fault. It wouldn't be their fault, would it? It would. No, the construction industry is currently a protected trade. They can't find people to do the job, so it's one of the few sectors where you get a special visa to actually come here because they. Don't keep saying my name, Lewis. This is what I mean about giving people the facts they need to have informed opinions.
Can I talk?
Well, I'm responding to what you've said.
Have you worked on a building site recently?
I like the way you've said recently.
Yeah, recently. I know you haven't. I know you did a bit in a couple. I do listen to your show.
I don't think my experience on a building site is recent enough to be relevant. But have you read the?
James.
No, Lewis. I've answered your question. Now you need to answer mine. Are you aware of what the status of most elements of the construction industry is in relation to visa immigration?
Yeah, we need plumbers, gas fitters, electricians.
So who's going undercut?
who's getting undercut.
Yeah.
What overall?
You're getting undercut by people who aren't allowed to come here anymore.
Well, they are allowed to come.
No, they're not. Only if they've got a visa.
You're not letting me. You see, James, you're not letting me get my words out.
No,
You're like, I'm not as good.
Well, you carry on then. I'll be quiet for a while.
I'm not as good with words as you are. Okay, so I'm not like now. If you're a labourer or you're a builder or a joiner, and you need to get a certain amount a day, okay, and then someone from another country comes along who isn't English or isn't British, regardless of what they look like, and says, I can do that for half the price, and that they'll get the job. Now, I know you're saying that you don't think that's true.
No, I know. I'm not saying that. If you'd let me speak, I'd tell you what I am saying. Okay, so under the rules brought in largely by Rishi Sunak and James Cleverly, the problem you describe, I'm sure, exists or used to exist, but literally and directly under the new rules brought in, the people you're describing are not allowed to come here. They cannot get a visa because they are not... No, this is why the numbers have halved. Why do you think the numbers have halved?
Well, if you'd like to come up to Liverpool...
No, I'd like you to answer my question. I've answered yours. Why do you think the numbers have halved?
You haven't answered it, though, James, my mate. You haven't. I don't want to fall out with you because I think you're a good person, but you haven't answered it. If you would like, I'm quite happy for one of your...
Why do you think the numbers have halved?
I think the numbers have halved because probably it's harder for a lot of, say, intelligent people with degrees to come here and get jobs.
No, it's not, you see.
It's not.
No.
Yeah, I think it would. It might be, though. I mean...
No, it's harder for precisely the people you're talking about to come here. I mean, I don't want to fall out with you either, but it just is. That's why they brought in... It's why they're called skilled workers visas.
Yeah.
So there's no visas for unskilled workers.
Well, they're getting here somehow, like, James. I mean, I quite well... I mean,
well, then we're back to the question of why do you think it's gone down by half, mate?
It's gone... Well, that's just down to the government not managing it properly, isn't it?
No, it's halved. So that's got to be better than yesterday if you've got a problem with the issue generally.
No.
So the skilled workers visa means that the people who are not challenging for unskilled labour are finding it impossible or much harder to come here. How many people on your building site are illegally here?
I wouldn't want to grass them up, mate. It's not.
It's just a number.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't because like, hang on, if I may, so the immigration people might hear it, I might get them into trouble. So
I don't think they're going to know where you are or where you're working, and a lot of people listening are going to start thinking the number might be zero.
Well, there's not. There's probably about, I don't know. I don't know how many are illegal because I can't speak. I can only speak English, but there's a few, it's about 15, I think.
Okay, and you don't know whether they're legal or illegal. I know
at least 7 or 8 of them are.
And you,
because I tell you how I know, because
that's half.
I did,
isn't it? So what would be for you?
Yeah.
And thank you for being polite, because things can sometimes get a bit heated in these issues.
Yeah,
I respect you for that.
You don't need to be rude, is there?
No, exactly. Well, sometimes there is, actually. I think we can both agree about that, but this is not one of those times.
All right.
What would be good news for you? So a record-breaking reduction in net migration, laws already in place, which is, I mean, I'd say this politely again, in direct contravention of what you thought. I mean, the system brought in, and I don't like this system, but it speaks directly to what you've described. Unskilled workers can't come in anymore. It is literally impossible for them to get visas. So the phenomenon you describe has been directly attacked, directly dealt with. If there are people on your building site, and we'll have to take your word for it, then obviously your employer is breaking the law. You're probably complicit in illegality. If you know for a fact that they're there illegally, they won't be insured, which means that whoever is responsible for running the site in the event of an accident or something like that could end up in court or in jail. You know that health and safety legislation in this country is widely regarded as being quite robust. So I'm somewhat surprised to hear that on a massive site you've got that level of law breaking and health and safety breaches going on. But even if it is going on, and there's a few people suggesting that perhaps it isn't, and if it is, why are you protecting them? But we'll leave that for now. If there are people here doing what you described, they arrived before the rules that have been brought in and delivered the news that we're discussing today.
they possibly could have done. I mean, they possibly...
No, they must have done. Well, not must have done, but they are much more likely to have done than they would be before the rules were brought in. So I just want to know, what news would make you happy on a day like today?
A news would make me happy would be, okay, people, migrant immigrants can come in as long as they're willing to work.
Yeah, that's what's happened.
As long as they're willing. See, this is the thing. You see, you're really good at talking, my mate.
You can't keep saying that, Lewis. That's not fair.
It's true. It's like you see, like it's like trying to talk to a barrister or a politician.
No, it's not. It's trying to talk to someone who's got the facts and figures in front of him, which are available to absolutely everybody. So, what would be good news for you today?
Wow.
Good news for you today would be you can only really come here if you're going to work, and that is what has happened. That is one of the main reasons why figures.
If you're going to work, if you're going to.
So that's what's happened today. So that makes today good news. What else?
Okay, so if you're going to, all right then. So you see, this is the difficulty because you said a lot of things very quickly. Now I can't.
I just ask people very respectfully to explain the thinking behind their opinions, Lewis.
Well, the thinking is that I'm a working class person. I'm trying to earn a living to the best of my ability, and what you're saying, I suppose in theory is correct, but it isn't.
It's not how you feel.
Reality.
It's not how you feel.
Not how I feel.
No, I know. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It's not how you feel. And a reduction of 50% in the overall numbers is not, I think, we've got to go, I'm late for the news. This isn't going to change how you feel about things, including your colleagues who may or may not be here illegally. Thank you, mate. I do respect your honesty, and I mean that. I hope that doesn't sound insincere.
Yes, conclusive proof that these people will never be happy. Even if the figures went down to zero or minus net zero, whatever numbers they like to say, they will never ever be satisfied. But a number of listeners did pick up on Louis contradicting himself.
And just to drive home that point about it being the responsibility of good journalists to give people, whatever social class they identify as being in, the information they need to have informed opinions. The current salaries, I think, for skilled worker visas put joiners on just shy of £31,000, ditto bricklayers, electricians about £5,000 more, plasterers smack in between the two, and roofers just shy of £31,000. So, as Craig and many others of you who work in the construction industry point out, nobody is getting undercut. I thought that Lewis's appeal to politeness was helpful. You can have polite conversations even as you disagree, but Adam in Leytonstone chooses to describe it as talking rubbish, which is fair enough. I think that's relatively polite. I'm an electrician working on site in London. There's plenty of work. We need people. No employer I've had would take on illegal workers. It wouldn't be worth the risk when there's so many legitimate people looking for work. I'm working class. I've never worried about immigration, legal or illegal, taking my job. You can only come here if you're willing to work, but you can't come here if you're going to take a job. A few of you are questioning the logic of that particular position, and Andy reminds us that the employer has a duty to check every employee's right to work in the UK. No immigrant has stolen anyone's job. The employer chose to break the law. And Sheena also picks up on the idea of complaining that people aren't coming here to work while also complaining that they are coming here to work. And it's very helpful to hear that in the flesh, isn't it, in the wild? Because that's why I ask the question, will these numbers matter? Will somebody who feels that they are being squeezed, that people are pushing in front of them in the queue, and has, a strong sense that is what is going on around him, and it's something quite nice about not wanting to grass people up, if that was true, a sort of solidarity that would be absolutely beautiful if it applied in all areas of life as well. If you sort of thought you've got as much right to be here as I have in this job, is the same sort of solidarity as not wanting to grass somebody up. But I guess that is why I'm not as optimistic as some of you are, that this statistical release today, these figures released today, will change anything. They certainly haven't changed Lewis's mind. But maybe I did.
Yes, Al, Louis was moaning about people coming over here stealing our jobs, well, at the same time saying he doesn't have a problem with these people coming over here just as long as they work hard and contribute. Then he blames James for making him look silly, because he had the audacity to ask, basic, simple questions. And I find these people quite fascinating because for me they just seem to be a massive box of contradictions, aren't they? Just like Al Louis was here. I wonder if he was suffering from something called Sophiophobia. If you don't know what Sophiophobia is, may I suggest you watch this video here, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.